If we woke up tomorrow morning and there was a headline that 4,000 children in South Dakota were infected with some disease, I think all our communities would be up in arms. And that's the number that we're dealing with in South Dakota on an annual basis, that 4,000 children are being sexually abused. It needs to be addressed. We need to ensure that people who work with child sexual abuse are being recognized. We need to make sure our laws address this issue, and we need to hold the perpetrators accountable.
Because the sexual part is one aspect of it, but really it's more the power and the control, the manipulation of these predators that allows them to do what they do.
One of the scariest things to a perpetrator of child sexual abuse is having it disclosed, having to face the harsh reality and the harsh lights of a courtroom with an empowered victim who's ready to take the stand and testify and disclose the sexual abuse.
Jolene's Law Task Force this past year brought forward an effort that I was happy to shepherd in the legislature to fund a Center for Child Maltreatment at USD. Now, while it's housed at USD, it's going to be working with all of the universities, public and private, as well as the technical schools and law enforcement, where there are mandatory reporters. We understand through our research that the most powerful change is to change what the mandatory reporters know. And think of us, there's so many of us. I'm a nurse, and you think of all the doctors, counselors, social workers, teachers, ministerial people, law enforcement that have statutory responsibility to be a mandatory reporter, and yet we know very little about child sexual abuse, how to look for it, how to open up the conversation. So we want to change through undergraduate and graduate education what everyone knows on a consistent way about child sexual abuse and child maltreatment overall.
The first day of trial, I heard one of the victims speaking his truth, and in doing so, I realized for the first time that I wasn't the only one. For most of my life, I thought I was the only one that he had ever done this to. I could never grasp that, or to think that he had done it to someone else. And so it was in that moment where I realized I wasn't alone, and I saw the courage and the strength of this young man to speak his truth in front of all kinds of media and the world, and I wanted to at least send him a message that I believed him, that I knew he was telling the truth, and the only way I could think to really do that was through my own disclosure.
What I'd love to see them do is to start having conversations in their places of influence. Even in your own family, just start to talk about it. Talk to your own kids about it. Talk to the kids that walk through your doors. Follow the efforts of Jolene's Law Task Force. If you look at the Department of Health website under News, you can click on News and you'll see a link to Jolene's Law Task Force. Start to talk within your church. Have a conversation about people that are coming into your church and taking care of kids. Look at when are your children vulnerable with coaches and counselors, and when are they in areas where, as a parent, you have that funny feeling, you have that instinct, this doesn't seem right. Trust your instinct. Follow up on it. If your child, of course children, over a lifetime start acting goofy for many reasons, but if there are certain things where this just doesn't seem right, something's different, something significantly different. Maybe it's school, maybe it's their learning, maybe they're being bullied, maybe they're frightened of something, maybe they don't feel well, but add this to the repertoire of conversation. Has anybody ever touched you? I just have to ask.
Mm-hmm. My message is simple: report it. Tell the authorities. Let them handle it. There can be no second thought about it. If you're thinking it, it's probably happening. There's a reason you're thinking it. Report it and allow it, protect the child. I'm always on the side of a child and a survivor of child sexual abuse.
If you see something, say something with respect to child sexual abuse. Don't be concerned. Jerry Sandusky, coaches, others in our community, neighbors, only 10% of the cases of child sexual abuse are committed by perpetrators. The remaining 90% are committed by individuals with whom the child is familiar. And of that number, 30% are family members. So it does happen in South Dakota. It's happening in our towns, in our communities, in our neighborhoods, and in our families. And we need to address it as we go forward.